All right, so today we're diving deep into Plato's Republic, specifically chapter 7.
Oh, yeah, a real turning point in the book.
Where things start to get really interesting. You guys sent in a ton of requests for this one.
Definitely a fan favorite.
It's all about how societies evolve and the impact of luxury, like how adding just a little bit can completely change things.
Yeah, Plato really sets this up in a fascinating way. At first he presents this almost idyllic picture of simple life.
Right.
Citizens enjoying these super basic pleasures like feasts with just leaves.
Singing, family time, sounds kind of like,
Almost like a romanticized camping trip, right?
yeah, totally. But it feels like there's got to be more to it.
Exactly, you hit the nail on the head. Plato's not just describing this simple life, he's actually kind of satirizing those who romanticize the so-called simpler times.
Ah, okay, I see.
It's like, sure, this all sounds nice, but even this wouldn't satisfy human desire for very long.
So he's using this as like a baseline, showing that even in this seemingly perfect setup, we're always going to want more.
Exactly. And that's where glaucon steps in. Remember, he's like, hold on a second. Are these people really happy just munching on dry bread?
Glaucon's always got to keep it real.
Right. He's voicing that inherent human desire for something more, a little spice in life.
Okay, I see. And this is where luxury really enters the picture.
Absolutely. Glaucon's objection kind of throws a wrench in things. He's all like, why not add some couches, tables, fancy foods, perfumes, art, entertainment, the whole 9 yards? And bam, the city just explodes.
Wow.
It goes from this tiny, self-sufficient community to this bustling, complex state.
I can only imagine. Suddenly you need hunters and fishermen to provide gourmet meals.
Artists and musicians for entertainment, and tons of servants to handle all the extra chores.
Yeah, the logistics alone are mind-blowing.
Totally. And this is where Plato uses that brilliant inflammation metaphor. The city's not just growing, it's swelling up, becoming bloated with all these desires that go way beyond just basic survival.
Makes sense.
And this leads to a huge problem, you guessed it. Scarcity of resources?
Right, because if everyone wants more land, more possessions, more wealth,
It's going to lead to conflict.
yeah, that classic struggle for limited resources, never a good situation.
Exactly. And Plato was smart enough to see this coming. He's like, okay, you want more? Guess what? You're going to get war.
Oh no!
War always comes with a whole bunch of negative stuff, violence, social disruption, and that's where injustice starts to creep in.
Makes you think, right?
Yeah.
Like, wanting a little luxury seems harmless enough,
Yeah.
but it can trigger this chain reaction that leads to some pretty serious consequences.
And in response to all this, Plato introduces a whole new class in his ideal city, the guardians.
Ah, the guardians. They're basically needed to deal with the fallout from this whole luxury lifestyle, right?
Yeah, to protect all that fancy new stuff and keep things in order. But it's not as simple as just hiring some muscle.
Of course, there's got to be more to it.
These guardians have to be special, the absolute best, dedicated to the art of war. This isn't just a part-time gig.
Wow, so we go from this simple farming community to,
This complex state with specialized roles and a powerful protector class, all because of luxury.
Plato's really driving home the point that even seemingly small desires can reshape society in ways we might not expect.
It makes you think twice about what we consider necessary versus luxury.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really curious to see how Plato develops this idea of the guardians. What kind of people are they? How are they chosen? How are they trained?
Right, but remember, not just anyone can be a guardian.
Yeah, they can't just be any warrior.
Exactly, they need a very specific set of qualities. Like, think of a well-bred watchdog.
Watchdog. Okay.
You want a dog that's fierce,
Right.
protective of its family,
Yeah, definitely.
but also gentle and loving to the people it knows.
So not biting every stranger that comes to the door, but also not letting just anyone walk in.
Exactly. It's all about balance.
I see. So the guardians need that same kind of discernment.
Exactly. They have to be courageous and spirited, always ready to defend the city, but they also need to be philosophical, just able to tell friend from foe.
Wow, that's quite a combination.
It is, and they need to rule with wisdom and compassion.
So how do you even find people like that?
Well, Plato believed that a huge part of it comes down to education and upbringing.
Makes sense.
Like, imagine young guardians being constantly observed and tested, their every action scrutinized.
That sounds intense.
It is. But remember, this is Plato's ideal city, his perfect world.
Right, this is like the ultimate thought experiment.
Exactly. He's pushing us to think about the qualities we really value in our leaders.
I mean, it definitely makes you wonder about the qualities we prioritize in leaders today.
Definitely something to think about.
Right, like do we look for strength over wisdom, aggression over compassion?
Good point.
Are we really searching for those well-rounded individuals?
That's the beauty of reading Plato. He challenges us to examine our own assumptions.
Totally. He makes us think differently about how society could be structured.
And how we choose those who govern us.
So from this simple, self-sufficient community,
We've gone to a luxurious state with a whole protector class.
it's amazing how much ground Plato covers in just one chapter.
I know, right? And we're just scratching the surface.
Because now we need to figure out how these guardians are trained and educated.
Exactly. Plato has a lot to say about that.
I can't wait to hear more. This is fascinating stuff.
Let's dive in.
All right, so these guardians, they go through this intense selection process.
Yeah, they're carefully chosen.
They've got all this mental and physical training, but then what?
Right. Like, what happens after all that? What are their lives actually like?
Yeah, how do they live?
Well, get this. Plato says they gotta live a super simple life, almost like a military order.
Really?
Yeah, no private property, no accumulating wealth. It's all about communal living.
That's wild. They're responsible for protecting all this luxury.
Right.
But
Yeah.
they can't have any of it themselves.
Nope. Plato thought if they were allowed to own stuff or get rich, they'd get corrupted.
Yeah, it makes sense. Their focus would shift.
Exactly. It'd be all about personal gain instead of serving the city.
So by keeping them detached from all that,
It ensures their loyalty stays with the state, with the people.
okay, but wouldn't that create a weird divide?
What do you mean?
Like, you've got the guardians living these super simple lives, and then everyone else is enjoying the benefits.
Ah, I see what you're saying.
Could that lead to resentment? Like, hey, they get to live it up while we're stuck with nothing?
That's a good point, and Plato definitely recognized that risk. That's why he stresses education, not just for the guardians, but for everyone.
So everyone understands the system, why it works this way?
Exactly. Everyone needs to buy into this idea of shared responsibility, working together for the common good.
Interesting. But is that realistic? I mean, people are inherently kind of selfish.
True, human nature is complex, but that's what makes Plato's Republic so thought-provoking, right? It's a thought experiment, pushing us to consider these big questions about how we organize society, how we balance individual desires with the needs of the community.
This whole deep dive into Chapter 7 has been a wild ride.
I know, right?
We started with luxury, and now we're talking about selflessness and communal living.
It's amazing how Plato weaves these ideas together.
And he leaves us with a lot to think about, like how much do our individual desires impact the world around us?
Right, even seemingly small choices can have huge consequences.
Yeah, like that first decision to add a little luxury, look where it led.
It's a reminder that we're all interconnected, part of a bigger system.
Thanks for breaking all this down for us. It's
Oh.
been really insightful.
Absolutely, anytime. And for everyone listening, keep those philosophical wheels turning. Plato's work is full of these timeless questions, things we're still grappling with today.
Yeah, it's a conversation that never really ends.
Exactly. So keep exploring, keep thinking critically.
And until next time, keep diving deep into those big ideas.